and welcome to the Mount Clemens City Commission meeting. It is 7 p.m. and we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Could everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Here.
Fournier.
Here.
Goodnow.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
Menster.
Here.
Voorhees.
Here.
Okay. Agenda item 4, announcements, acknowledgements, communications, and reports. We have one proclamation and a few other items. Go ahead. I will read the Macomb County Pride Proclamation. Whereas the City of Mount Clemens cherishes the value and dignity of each person and appreciates the importance of equality and freedom, and whereas all are welcome in the City of Mount Clemens to live, work, play, and every family in any shape deserves a place to call home, where they are safe, happy, and supported by friends and neighbors. And whereas the City of Mount Clemens denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical attributes as an affront to our fundamental principles. And whereas Pride Month began in June of 1969 on the one-year anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising in New York City, after LGBTQ+ and allied friends rose up and fought against the constant police harassment and discriminatory laws that have since been declared unconstitutional. And whereas the City of Mount Clemens appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus community, which strengthen our social welfare. And whereas it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. And whereas, despite being marginalized, LGBTQ+ people continue to celebrate authenticity, acceptance, and love. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the members of the City Commission declare the month of June 2021 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month in the City of Mount Clemens, and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by the members of the LGBTQ+ community and to actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice. All right. All right. We have the monthly department reports. Does anyone have any questions for either Mr. Johnson or any of the department heads that submitted these reports? Mr. Johnson, do you have anything that you want to add to these reports?
Just a couple of comments. One is we made a change in the reports on code enforcement this month, and we will be making a further change. This time you have 2 reports, one on open cases and one on closed cases. And there's a lot of detail on the closed cases and there's no detail on the open cases. I've asked Brian to make the open case report look like the closed case report and provide you with all the detail on the cases so you'll know exactly what has been done and what the status is.
Thank you.
I do have one comment. I have asked for additional information on the open cases, but I think we also need a workshop and we need to discuss the achievement of the goals and objectives. I'd like to have some discussion about the status of those.
I'm sorry, you're requesting a status update for the goals and objectives, a workshop?
Objectives, yes. Yes.
Okay.
We have not ever gone through any of the details of those and where they stand, and I would like to have a work session on that.
I believe that's actually already in the proposed schedule for future meetings.
It just gets concerning when we keep putting them out there and we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, you have it scheduled for a work session on 6/7 at 6 o'clock. Continues strategic plan discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about the reports that were submitted? Okay, hearing none. We will go ahead and move on to adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Crop, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Hammond. Anyone have any questions? Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes,
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menster,
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Agenda item 6, public participation. This is the portion of the meeting where we allow the public to comment. We ask that you give us your first name so that we may form a virtual line. When acknowledged, you will need to give us your full name and your residential address and abide by our 3-minute rule. Is there anyone at this time that can raise their hand or go ahead and speak up with your first name who'd like to get in line? I see Tommy, Phil,
George.
okay.
Michael.
Michael. Is there anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and start with Tommy.
Good evening. Thomas Barnes, 291 Jones Street, Mount Clemens, Michigan. I would just like to make it known to our board and to our city that our Wild on the Fly Youth Summer Sports Sampling Clinics have begun again. Our next clinic will be held on May 24th, 2021 at Shadyside Park between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. And then we will be offering another May camp on May 27th from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Wilson Park. Our mobile sites will be open. You'll see us around town. So come by, say hi. We do a free lending for sports equipment for kids in the city of Mount Clemens. Thank you, everybody.
Excellent, thank you. Next up is Phil.
Good evening. I apologize for any background noise. I'm sitting outside and my neighbor's mowing his lawn right now. Phil Gilchrist, 1130 Wellesley Drive. Many of you know me from the Anton Art Center, but I'm also the board president of Macomb County Pride. And I just, as a resident of the city, wanted to say thank you for the proclamation in support of Pride Month this year in June of 2020. It is very meaningful to me, and I appreciate the support from the city for this important month. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is George.
Thank you, Mayor Crop. I appreciate the time. George Kale, property address in Mount Clemens, 180 Grand. Residential address is 19145 Devonshire in Beverly Hills, Michigan. In regard to the previous work session that we just had, I need to ask the city manager 2 questions. The first one is in regard to the city attorney's continual use of the term conditional license in regard to the applicants that the city has awarded these conditional licenses. I've looked at both the MMFLA and the MRTMA state enabling legislation. I cannot find any terminology, whether in rules and regulations or definitions, that refer to conditional licenses. You're either approved or you're not, period. So I'd like to find out where I can get further details on these conditional license. And the second question is in regard to the 2 applicants that the city had previously acknowledged as being the conditional license holders. If they are the same entities that renewed their applications, For instance, the city manager can refer to the December 7th, 2020 City Commission meeting in which I had asked in regard to if the renewal applications had gotten in for both of those awarded applicants. Of course, that hadn't taken place. But by December 16 of 2020, the administration response to me was that, of course, that there was a little bit of delay and that the review committee met again on December 16th, that very day, to, of course, renew those previous applications, which is a time issue. With the state of Michigan, you have certain deadlines and times to meet to fulfill your obligations as per state statute. So those are the two questions. And a brief comment within the last minute that I have, we've got to open up this process. We got to get some other minds in there, some people that can get this job done. This thing's being fast tracked and we're giving some sort of preferential and discriminatory actions for the already elected or the already awarded conditional license holders. This is ridiculous. The micro businesses would take care of your issues on any smell that you can get from these big cannabis campuses that are out there. And we need to revisit this. I'm glad that we're going to table any ordinance readings and get into this and find out who did what and when and why, because something's got to give. Nothing's happened short of JARS. JARS knows what they're doing. They will get the job done. All deference, and again, to Mr. Gibraltar, great guy. I love the man. He's got to pivot and do something else with that property. It ain't going to be some big cannabis campus, and his DTE problem is not our problem. Somebody didn't do their homework over there. Somebody needed to do their due diligence and figure out
Thank you,
that
Mr.
was not
Kale.
fulfilled.
Thank you, Mr. Kale.
I had 2 seconds left, but I appreciate the time.
Not according to my clock, which is actually the official clock. Is there
flies.
anyone else who would like to participate for public participation?
I would like to participate if that's
I'm
okay.
sorry, you were in line. Thank you, Mr. Zubis.
Of course, I appreciate that, Mayor Crop. Before I begin, I just want to say I appreciate the recognition of Pride Month. That really is appreciated from me and the other members of the LGBTQ community. But anyways, so good evening. I'll begin now, I should say. Good evening to the members of the Mount Clemens Commission. I come before you all to bring awareness to a recent event in the city of Detroit that I feel correlates with the events that have and should occur here. And that is the recent cannabis legislation that has passed and is now in effect. The interesting part is how they make a Detroit legacy category, allowing for residents in the city to open a business in town at a far cheaper rate if they lived there for 15 years or more, hence the legacy part. But it heartens me that the city of Mount Clemens, instead of looking into ideas such as Detroit's ordinance, has decided to instead allow people to drink in public and not approve of any cannabis legislation fully. Everyone has their reasons, I'm sure, but the clock is officially ticking, and it's time to be able to get coherent legislation is running out before another city's weed is being purchased by our residents. I fear there may be another reason for the blockade on such an idea, and it may be the grip of big beer. In a city that is 4 by 4 miles, there are 12 bars, 4 liquor stores, and multiple festivals to encourage drinking. Oktoberfest, anyone? Along with the new ordinance that allows for the public downtown intoxication. Monopoly is already in place, and the influence of the need to ensure them that they keep the taps flowing is evident. The city depends on that money and comes in for taxes of liquor. It's the only logical reason that 21 plus 2 mills is justifiable. And I do understand the need for more real estate to lower taxes, and that's where the legalization and regulation of cannabis comes into play. You get more bang for your buck. It's looking past the stigma and propaganda that's been out there for decades about cannabis, that use that seems to be an issue. If we look past the Mount Clemens residents that have 10 DUIs or other related drinking and driving incidents, but people have spent years, if not decades, for just having weed on them in prison, let alone using it, there is already a bias that is not seen. We need a day when people understand that proper drug use of adults is not wrong, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. Unless it is, then fine. Then there's no need to get a petition to get cannabis dispensaries for recreational sales. Instead, what we need to do is get a ban on alcohol sales. Let's make this whole town dry, even though it would just lead to everyone driving to Clinton Township, getting drunk and buying beer, and then driving back. This is exactly what's going to happen to the city commission. Doesn't see that if you can get blind, stinking drunk in America, but you can't get high, then this is not a free country, unless you like liquor. Hard drugs like heroin is a whole nother story. But to keep cannabis off the shelves, will just lead to residents going elsewhere and taking their hard-earned dollars and sales taxes recreationally there as well. As the usage is here to say, thank God. Cannabis is the way to get the city back to 15 mils. It's not the silver bullet, but it creates the cushion to bring it down to say 18 or 19. Then other businesses can say, okay, let's take a chance here now that the taxes are lower. I'm sure a logical conclusion can be reached here if it can be reached elsewhere. Thank you for your time and be safe.
Mr. Zubis, can you state for the record your full name and your address? Because we didn't get that at the beginning.
I apologize. I was supposed to do that. My full name is Michael Robert Zubis Jr. My address is 322 North Avenue, and that's apartment 1 in Mount Clemens, Michigan, 48043.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Crop.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time for public participation? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the work session.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over it. Administrative responses, are there any?
I'm sorry, Mayor, there are none.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now, Commissioner Hammond, what were you saying?
I move to approve the work session and regular city commission meeting on May 3rd, 2021, and also the work session on May 6th, 2021.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Fournier. Anyone have any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees, Commissioner Voorhees.
Okay.
You there?
Mm,
He's trying to unmute.
On mute.
There
There
he
we
is.
go.
Okay.
Commissioner Voorhees? On the minutes?
Maybe we're losing him. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to general business. Item A, adopt the 2021-22 City of Mount Clemens budget. Mr. Johnson, well, let's get a motion first. I need a motion, please.
I move to approve the resolution on annual budget resolution and general appropriation act.
Do we need to,
Read all of them.
I was going to say, do we need to do each one, Mr. Johnson, or should we, or I guess Mr. Murray, or should we do them all separate?
I think you should do them all separate.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Hammond.
First one is I move to approve the resolution 1, annual budget resolution and general appropriation act.
Moved by Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Fournier. Roll call, please. Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson. Jeez, sorry. I'll get it right.
I appreciate you trying to make a quick meeting, but I think we do need to talk a little bit about this.
I know, jeez.
I appreciate that too.
Yeah, I have to take my garbage out like Commissioner Campbell. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
We've held 3 budget work sessions and 1 public hearing on the budget since the city manager's recommended budget was presented. The commission made the following changes to the manager's recommended budget. $102,867 was added to the fire department budget for a fire inspector and ancillary expenses. I always want to pronounce that wrong. $101,000 was removed from the recreation budget. $477,677 was added to the major street fund budget. $366,677 was added to the local street fund budget. The street fund expenditures allow for the addition of 2 workers, which will be split between the 2 funds. Also, the budget for street improvements was increased $400,000 in major street fund and $300,000 in the local street fund. In addition, the administration made an adjustment to the amount projected for a CARES grant in the dial-a-ride fund from $160,000 to $138,000, and a like amount was removed from expenditures. If you recall, that was because we made that adjustment originally based on word that we were getting a $160,000 increase in CARES funding for dial-a-ride. It turned out to be approximately 164.5 total, not an increase amount. So we had already received some money, so that had to be removed. So it's now down to just the net increase of 138,000. The only other change that we're making since this was presented is to the fund balance policy. There were multiple references to budgeted expenditures in the formula, and those were changed to just expenditures, as these calculations should be made using actual audited expenditures, not just budgeted numbers. We have 4 resolutions that we're asking the commission to approve, and they follow. And these will be, one is actually the budget resolution and General Appropriations Act. The second one sets the tax rates. The third one sets the tax administration fee and sets interest and penalties. And the fourth one is to approve financial policies. We did include new copies of the financial policies, including the revised fund balance policy, which starts on page 12. So resolution 1 has already been presented by Commissioner Hammond. And after that's voted on, you can move right to the vote on the other 4, unless there are questions.
Oh, I've got questions.
Mr. Mentor?
So I'm a little confused by why this, this document shows deficit budgets in major streets of $279,000, in local streets of $244,000. And the dial-a-ride, you did show this as a deficit in our last discussion of $15,000. I understand the $52,000 deficit in sidewalks, but there's also auto parking, $168,000, water fund, $66,000, and the ice arena, $182,000. So we did not have all of these amounts, and it's especially a deficit, and it's especially concerning if you added money to the major streets, $477,000, and to local streets, $366,000. Why is there still a deficit of $279,000 and $224,000?
Those are additional expenditures, not additional revenues.
But does the revenue include the additional funds from the CARES Act or whatever act we're getting the additional funds from?
There's no additional revenue over what was presented in the manager's budget originally.
Okay, but from the American, which act is it?
Recovery.
You told me Recovery Act, thank you. You had said we were going to get a certain amount of money and we would allocate some to the major street fund and the local street fund.
And the parking.
So that is not in there yet?
The parking is. We did not yet have anything solid as to what the final requirements were going to be of the act at the time. We actually have gotten some guidance on that in the last few days.
Okay.
It looks like the parking, using it to replace lost parking revenues, looks like that's going to be an acceptable expense. We can't spend it on streets. The infrastructure that's allowed under the ARPA Act is only water, sewer, and broadband.
Well, we can probably put it to good use on water and sewer.
Oh, we certainly can. But we didn't actually budget for that yet.
So that means we do have to, so this is a change in the fund balance. So we're actually dipping into the reducing our overall fund balance in these 2 funds.
That's correct.
Okay.
Does anyone have any further questions? Call the roll, please.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
No.
Voorhees, Commissioner Voorhees. Okay. Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Can we get
Okay.
Commissioner Voorhees or?
I hear him. I mean, I can hear. I think he has hit a button. I think he's on the phone. So, but for
Yes,
some reason, yeah, we're not getting. Yeah, he is there, and it's showing he's unmuted, but I don't hear him. Patrick, can you like manually mute him and then unmute him? See if that helps.
Hold on one second. It's actually Darren tonight, but
Hi, Darren. Sorry.
hello. Let's see. Mute. Oh, let's see. I lost him. Where's he at? I don't see him in my list anymore.
He's
Oh,
at the
there he
very
is.
bottom.
Okay,
of
ask to
mine.
unmute. Okay. There he is.
Commissioner Voorhees, can you hear us? Okay, I think we're gonna have to, maybe he can call back in, hang up and call back in.
He might be trying that because he just disappeared off my list.
Okay. All right, I think we need to move on. All right, did you catch did that end the roll call for that resolution?
For the first one.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to the second motion, second resolution.
I move to approve resolution 2, set tax rates.
Support.
By Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Menzer. Are there any questions or comments about the tax rates? Okay, hearing none, roll call please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
There he is.
Campbell, yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow.
Yes.
Excellent. Welcome back, Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead and-
Mayor,
Yeah,
you might want to ask Commissioner Voorhees to record his vote on the first motion.
we can do that. Okay, excellent. The motion was for a resolution to approve the annual budget resolution and general appropriations act.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Did the clerk record?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to number 3.
I move to approve resolution 3, set tax administration fee, interest and penalties.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Campbell. Anyone have any questions about the set tax administration fee and interest and penalties? Okay, hearing none, roll call please.
Crop,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Okay, and for our last resolution,
I move to approve resolution 4, approve financial policies.
Support.
moved by Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Campbell. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Menzer.
On the fund balance policy, that's on page 17, you've changed you have the general fund at least equal to 15% of expenditures, but not more than 40. I'm wondering why you're saying 15 when my understanding is the general rule of thumb is 25%, no less than 25%.
Actually, the general rule of thumb is more like 10 to 15 for a minimum.
That's not the information I got from one of your staff members.
Seems like you would have wanted to ask the city manager that question. Okay, does anybody else have any questions?
15 is also the minimum in the current policy.
Okay, roll call, please.
Spencer,
No.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop.
Yes. General business. Item B, approved Michigan Works Agreement. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve. To this mission, okay. I've moved to approve the memo of understanding between the Macomb St. Clair Workforce Development and the City of Mount Clemens as presented, and to authorize the execution of the contract by the appropriate city officials.
Support.
Madam Mayor, we actually have a change we want to make to the resolution because we have not gotten the document back from Michigan Works yet. And in fact, what they suggested when Jennifer talked to them this afternoon is that we provide them with a document that has Mr. Murray's suggestions included. So what I would like is a motion allowing us to enter into a memo of understanding with Macomb County St. Clair Workforce Development as approved by the city attorney.
Commissioner Hammond, are you in support of that motion?
Yes.
Okay, and do we have a support?
Support.
I'm sorry, Wanda, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, so we have a support from Commissioner Fournier. Okay, Mr. Johnson, do you want to go ahead and explain?
Yes, thank you. What this whole program is about is it's a labor program that Michigan Works is offering to the city, where we'll be able to get up to 6 summer workers in the Public Services Department and 1 in City Hall. The workers will be employees of Michigan Works, not of the city of Mount Clemens. They are allowed to work up to 480 hours. Michigan Works will pay up to $12 an hour. They will allow us to offer a higher wage if we pay the difference plus a 10% administrative charge. And if that's the case, they will bill us for that supplemental pay. They will still be the direct employer of the workers. Did I mention there's 1 in City Hall too? The memo of understanding establishes the terms and conditions between Macomb St. Clair Workforce Development Board which is representing Michigan Works young professionals and the city of Mount Clemens. It's entered into for the purpose of delineating the respective roles and responsibilities for the hiring and payroll operation for a Michigan Works young professionals paid work experience. The reason we're asking the commission to go ahead and approve something that isn't nailed down 100% at this time is because our next commission meeting is 3 weeks away. And 3 weeks takes a significant chunk out of the summer employment timetable that I don't really think we can afford to lose. So we'd like to get this approved so that we can get this program rolling and get some assistance in both public works, some significant assistance in public works, and some help in City Hall as well.
Hey, does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Johnson?
I do. Now so apparently Mr. Murray had an issue with the fact that the insurance coverages were not spelled out in the agreement. Did Michigan Works have any objection to that?
I don't know. I haven't been a part of the negotiation of this. It was sent to me by administration, I pointed out when I reviewed it that it didn't, the first draft didn't designate who the employer was. It didn't designate anything relative to discipline, who's going to discipline these workers. It had nothing relative to insurance, workman's comp, auto, etc. So those are the issues that I raised. And given the time constraints, they have not. The most recent response was today. Jennifer, the HR director, sent me a memo saying that they asked that I draft some language to cover those items.
So how is it legal, Mr. Murray, for us to approve a memo of understanding that we don't have? And that includes things like you just mentioned, important things, workman's comp insurance, liability insurance, auto insurance, and personnel related issues. How can we approve a memo of understanding that we have no idea what it's coming back like?
The motion as amended, you are approving a memo of understanding that will be finalized and approved by the city attorney. So if you, I think the manager has outlined where the areas of clarification need to be, and I will certainly attempt to clarify those areas. If they don't agree with it, then you don't have an agreement, but I doubt that will occur.
So we are agreeing to this memo of understanding subject to the clarification and the inclusion of those points.
Yes, I guess the way the motion has been made is that you're relying upon me to protect the city's interest in those areas.
And before these kids can come work, this all has to be finalized, correct?
Well, yes, I mean, I think it has to be clarified. Who's going, the insurance issue, certainly. They're going to have to provide that information. And I would suspect they're going to have to agree to discipline matters. You know, I don't know who's disciplining them. If Jeff Woods wants to get rid of an employee, who makes that call? Woods or Michigan Works? All of that's that's unclear right now.
I would like to point out that I think this is the program itself, since we really haven't discussed that at all, I think is a unique opportunity for Mount Clemens in terms of utilizing some help for our DPS that we know is understaffed, and for some of the seasonal work, and at very little or no cost to the city.
Plus experience that the youth will obtain.
That too.
Michigan Works have had this program in the past, correct? Maybe not with the city, but it's not a new program to them, or?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
I don't believe it has been in the city, although they did run a program, from what I understand here at one point, called the Job Training Partnership Act. They did have that here at some point. Not necessarily, I don't know if it was an agreement with the city, Mr. Murray. Was that an agreement with the city, or was it through the schools?
Not that I recall. The city, and Mr. Woods can speak to it better than I can. The city has always hired on its, I believe it's always been on its own seasonal summer employees.
We've had a problem in the past few years getting them, correct?
I don't know. Mr. Woods would probably know. I think, yeah, I understand that like most positions, it's difficult to find people to fill them at this point in time.
So we worked with them in the past.
I don't recall us working with them in the past. The city, through the HR department, has always hired seasonal help.
Yeah,
But this year we want to partner with Michigan Works.
Yeah, and JTPA, the Job Training Partnership Act, was, I believe, run through our recreation department at one point, but we also, Michigan Works has worked with many, when I was a kid, I worked on JTPA and the Fitzgerald schools. They have long since worked with municipalities and school districts and, government entities, so.
Sounds like a good program to offer our youth here in the city.
Do they look to our city to hire the kids in our city?
Usually, yes. That's what they told us in our meeting. Is there anyone else with the questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menster.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item C, approve Macomb County Economic Development Agreement. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agreement between the city and Macomb County for economic development services for $700 per month for 6 months, with the cost split evenly between the city and DDA, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the same.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Fournier, supported by Commissioner Hammond. Mr. Johnson, do you want to have Mr. Tingley?
Well, I'd like to say this is very similar to the 3-month agreement that was approved in November that resulted in the development of the online GIS-based marketing tool that we've renamed as www.thinkmtc.com. But I'm going to let Brian go into any more details and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. The cost of this agreement, or the cost of the previous agreement, was $2,100 or $700 per month. Again, half was paid by the DDA. This agreement would maintain that $700 per month. The county would continue to maintain and update the thinkmtc.com site, and they'll also be including non-DDA properties on the site as determined with the city. They'll continue to act as a liaison between developers, the MEDC, commercial real estate agents, property owners. They'll be collaborating with the city on putting together packaging and promoting available incentives, whether that's the DDA's facade program or other state incentive programs that are available. They'll continue to attend one DDA meeting each month in an advisory capacity and continue assisting the city in our brand development services. On May 5th, the DDA board did approve continuing to pay half of the cost of the agreement, which also does contain a 10-day termination clause. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Tingley?
Yeah. Mr. Tingley, can you tell us how effective that this program, this tool has been so far?
Well, I think just the GIS-based marketing tool that they created for the city was well worth the initial $2,100. It's a very attractive looking site. And we are going to be working with the county on getting some statistics in terms of how often that site is being visited. So I think the previous agreement, as well as this one, is well worth the money.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question too. Can you just give me a specific example about the second bullet point, act as the liaison between the developer, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and the city and real estate agent? What are we talking about there?
Well, they'll often, the county is often the first point of contact, so they will work with developers behind the scenes in terms of helping them understand the development process. You know, the county will oftentimes coordinate meetings on our behalf with potential developers or current property owners downtown. So they do a lot of work in terms of just coordinating the different parties that are in play when it comes to development or redevelopment of properties.
Such as, what parties are we talking about? We talk about a developer.
Yeah,
Are they getting development?
property owners, commercial real estate agents, interested developers.
So they're doing that on our behalf, rather than, for example, you doing it directly.
Correct.
Because often, Commissioner Fournier, just to clarify a little, often the developers reach out to the county's economic development program first. So they're like the first point of contact, and then they contact Brian, myself, Don, and then it typically kind of snowballs from there in terms of getting people the resources they need, or helping them locate properties, things like that.
And if I can add, and they will reach out if we ask them to. They will reach out to property owners, again, potential developers, commercial real estate brokers. If we ask them to, they will reach out and coordinate. So it's not just them, those people going to the county, but the county will do those things by our request as well.
So if we have a piece of property that hasn't been developed that we're looking to, we have a few, not all of them downtown, they would look for a developer, help us look for a developer?
Well, that's part of what the thinkmtc.com was designed for as well, is to have that online presence. So when there are developers that are interested, they can find that. The county does maintain a database of not just developers, but site selectors that work on behalf of developers. And so when there are properties downtown that fit what these site selectors are looking for, they will try to make that connection.
Okay, thank you.
They'll also work with various developers on what incentive programs might be available, and this goes way beyond what we might offer. They look at what the state has available and what is available through county programs. We had a meeting on a project last week that the county did a lot of work on ahead of time, and that was the expansion of AE Electric, who wants to build a facility across the street from the current one on a site that was at one time a gravel pit, and then more recently a driving range where you drove the golf balls into the water. There's a little pond or lake, as they call it, that developed from the gravel pit. The county's been very much involved with that project.
Thank you.
I mean, Jack Johns, especially Jack Johns from the county, it has been, a pretty intense resource for us. And he has done a lot of legwork on bringing several of the newer businesses that are in town to Mount Clemens and helping them figure out a path forward in terms of development and funding. So just to give him a shout out.
Well, and as a reminder, Miss Jack Johns is the perfect one to represent our city for planning and economic development, because he was formerly a Mount Clemens City Commissioner and he lives in Mount Clemens.
Any other questions or comments? I guess I'd like to add that collaborating with the county is a specific part of our strategic plan as well. So I think this is an example of that and a good way to implement partnerships. Call the roll, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond, Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We will go ahead and move on to item D, approved contract for rental inspection services.
I move to approve the agreement with Michael L. Farren to provide rental inspection services for the 2022 fiscal year and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the same.
Moved by Commissioner Menzer,
Or
supported by Commissioner Goodenough. Mr. Johnson.
This is basically a renewal of a contract that we've had for some time. If there are any questions from commissioners, Mr. Tingley is here to respond.
I do have one comment / question, and I've been vocal about it for many years, but I don't always think, and this does not apply to all landlords, but there are many landlords that do not maintain their properties in the city, and we have a lot of rentals. And I don't know if I can put it on Mr. Farren. He is a contractor and does theoretically what we want him to do, but I don't think it's working that well. And I think that the latest list we received of all the open blight cases is evidence of that, because I know that they're blight and this is rental inspection, but there is a lot of overlap if you go through the rental certificate of compliance inspection self-test. Something is just, we need to step up our game there. And I don't know if it's Mr. Farren or if it's us. And so at the workshop that we had to discuss some of this, I have to say, just as an example, sidewalks and driveways is in the self-test. They must be in proper state of repair and maintained free from hazards. That hasn't happened. It has not happened. And so are we bypassing things, or are we letting people off the hook? Or are we just, I don't know. But I think that the whole game around this rental inspection has to step up. And I don't want to blame Mr. Farren if that's not the problem.
Is there a, keeping in mind, that he's a contractor and we cannot set his hours or days, but is there a way to monitor, like how many rental inspections he does a day? I think that last month he did, 41 for the month. That would indicate, about 1.5 per work day. Is there a way to add some kind of a specific on that?
Well, we do track the number of inspections that are conducted. I will say that this past year, inspections for rental, they are down due to the pandemic and the existence of the eviction moratorium. That has kind of put a dent in our ability to get into some of these properties to do inspections. But yeah, we do track the inspections that are conducted.
But is there a reasonable number, that we could expect, like at the end of the week? Keeping in mind some of them have 4 units or more, and some of them don't. Is it a reasonable number to expect that he inspects 10 per week, or is it reasonable that he inspects 25 per week? I really don't know. I just wondered if there was some kind of measurable goal.
The numbers will fluctuate. We are in a 2-year cycle for inspections, and I believe I stated before that the number of inspections doesn't necessarily always paint a picture. I mean, technically, sometimes the less inspections we're doing, that's good. That means people are compliant. So it's hard to pinpoint what a reasonable number would be. And again, at the end of the day, when we request an inspection, we have to be permitted into the property. And we do run into cases where we have to go to court because people fail to schedule their rental inspection. So that plays a role as well. So I would say it's hard to pinpoint a reasonable number of inspections per week.
Thank you.
And if the number of inspections is one thing, but if the quality of those inspections is another. And as you know, I have personally torn down rentals that could no more pass this self-test than they wouldn't have been torn down otherwise. I read one of the things is all foundation walls shall be maintained. There was one where the floor was literally caving in. So that doesn't happen overnight or within a 2-year inspection. And I think that, again, I don't know that we have an answer here tonight. And I will, if you believe Mr. Farron is the one for the job, I will support you in that. But I think that we need to step up our game. I mean, like, as I said, there are good landlords that maintain their properties, but there are a lot that do not.
Does anyone have any further questions? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Moving on, general business, item E, consider participation in the United Way 21-day equity challenge. I'll entertain a motion.
I move the city of Mount Clemens participate in the United Way 21-day equity challenge and where's my glasses? And adopt the attached resolution.
Moved by Commissioner Mentor,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Hammond. Mr. Johnson.
Hi. This is a new program for the United Way. They haven't done it before. They've asked that we adopt a supporting resolution and acknowledge which acknowledges the 21-day equity challenge as a way to share vetted information and resources and to begin or continue to weave conversations about equity within our community. I think this looks like it should be an excellent program, but since they haven't done it before, we don't know for sure. I think it fits right in with our goals and objectives and our equity goal. And I'm recommending that we participate.
This, just to add to that, this came across my desk, and it would, require, I guess, the participation of the commission in terms of, for 21 days, you'll get basically like tips and emails about equity and just learning about topics that address systematic racism, and yeah, I think it seemed like really good information, and it also was really timely with what our last discussion on the strategic plan was with finding specific things that we can do to target that goal. I thought that this was something that was very specifically aligned to that. So yeah. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to discussing the no parking option for street cleaning, item F. I don't think there
is no suggested motion.
Right. So Mr. Johnson.
This is meant to just be a discussion item for the commission at this time. I chose to do it in this fashion within a meeting rather than calling it as a work session because we already had a work session scheduled for tonight and for the next meeting and probably for the one after that. And I don't think this is actually going to probably require an hour, but I could be wrong. Let me note the parked cars do pose a major problem during street cleaning and snow plowing. We do have the ability to ticket parked cars during snow emergencies, but we currently have no incentive to get cars off the street for street cleaning. There has been some expressed supported for a garbage day parking prohibition. So I thought we should look at what options are available. That is certainly one of them. I've put together some thoughts of my own, but commissioners may have other ideas as well. The most common ones that I'm familiar with for trying to get parked cars off the street, particularly for street cleaning, because it's not as big a problem for snow removal, and most of these won't work for snow removal, although one would. The garbage day parking prohibition would result in most cars being removed from the street 1 day per week. Since it's always on the same day, it should be relatively easy for residents to remember. However, garbage collection actually interferes with street cleaning and plowing. The trucks themselves get in the way of the cleaning and plowing vehicles, and many residents put their containers in the street where they would be in the way. 1 day a week when vehicles are not present on a particular street is a viable help for street cleaning, but it would not be for plowing. We can't wait that long to plow. Finally, this would need to be enforced every weekday when we only actually clean residential streets. I put 4 here, but I believe it's actually, the target is 6 times per year. Finally, removing all parking from the streets in the collection zone represents a major inconvenience for residents who may not have adequate off-street parking available. Some cities do what's called alternate side parking. This makes one side of the street available for parking and changes the side almost every day. We use the calendar days and the addresses so that on even numbered days, you can park on the side of the street with even numbered addresses. And on odd numbered days, you can park on the side of the street with odd numbered addresses. Since only half the street at a time is designated a no parking zone, it represents a much lower burden on residents. We would not be taking away all street parking. However, we would still be enforcing parking restrictions every day, or at least every weekday, when we only clean the streets 4 to 6 times per year. Also, I've had personal experience with alternate side parking in a community I once lived in. The end of the month often poses a problem because people get used to just the idea that they have to move their car every night. And at the end of the month, if it's a 31-day month, you have 2 odd days in a row. And the community I lived in took full advantage of that and issued tickets every time. One thing that this one might help us with, although the garbage day parking might help us with it as well, is it might discourage parking inoperable vehicles or little used vehicles on the street, as they'd have to be moved every day in this case, or once a week in the other. Final option that I'm familiar with is to place temporary no parking signage. A lot of cities do this during street cleaning. It limits the impact on residents to just the days when street cleaning will occur. The first problem with this approach is the amount of labor necessary. We would end up needing a crew just to handle the signs. With a DPS department as small as ours, that's a significant problem. It's also highly likely many residents will not see the temporary signs. I know from personal experience that it's very easy to not notice a new sign or even a new traffic light. You know, you're used to the way things normally look and what the rules normally are, and when something changes, it sometimes takes you a few days to actually recognize that. Again, this was meant just to start a discussion. I think we're a long ways from actually putting a resolution or an ordinance before you, but I'd like to hear what you have to say.
So I believe that I think that the temporary signs is a good idea, but if it's more work than we can handle, then I would go with the garbage day. I get that you'd have to coordinate with the pickup, the garbage pickup people, but it's easy to remember. it's just a given. I mean, that is something people don't forget. Alternate days just sounds very confusing to me and fraught with issues.
I don't see us denying parking every single week on garbage night when we're only going to sweep the streets 4 to 6 times. I don't. I think I would want Mr. Wood's opinion in here, because we just authorized him hiring 2 new people. We just added or approved an agreement with Michigan Works to add several people to his temporarily, I know, to his crew for the summer. If the 2 full-time staff that we've authorized you only need 1 person to go out and put a street sign, little street sign up. So, and if he can come up with a schedule that we can publish, on social media, on the web page, saying, okay, we're going to, sweep Kendrick, Jones and Washington on this specific day. Give people a couple of day notice.
And I would hope that if there's more days that we are able to sweep the streets. And I think that it is all about timing as well. I mean, obviously the fall is worse than the middle of the summer. But it did used to be, if we look back, on garbage day. And that was when we cleaned the streets every week.
Yeah, well, we know that's not going to happen right now.
Yeah.
We get a lot of complaints because of lack of notification, and so people feel as though the street sweeper is not as effective as it should be because of cars on the streets. And so, this is something that I've been trying to address, because it seems like, notifying people doesn't seem to be very effective, because I know, like, if weather comes up, the schedule changes, and it doesn't seem to be something that the DPS has had a lot of success with, because I know that for a little bit they did publish some things on social media, giving people some heads up, but it didn't seem to be helpful to them. So, just trying to find a solution to this. I know none of these programs are going to be, a complete fix, but I feel like it's definitely, I don't think doing nothing is a solution. So
I'm in agreement with this whole concept. I mean, I think that other cities do this based off of what they do. Ask them what they find is the most effective method, and instead of reinventing the wheel, just implement what they find the most effective and tailor it for Mount Clemens. But I agree, walking around, there's cars that haven't been moved in, I would say, a year, and the leaves and the dirt are 3 inches thick around it. So there's no reason a car has to be sitting there that long.
You're so right. And after a while, that smells. Those rotting leaves, especially in the spring, after the winter, when nothing got picked up from the fall, it smells. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah. So I don't have a driveway. I don't put my car out in the street. So it's like everybody can move their car 1 time a month or whatever.
Well, and the idea is that you have it from 9 to 3 or something to the effect that a lot of people are at work, so their car isn't even home.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the garbage day one, I mean, only from personal experience, my grandma lives in Hazel Park, and that's what they do every Wednesdays for garbage day. And I know if I go visit her on Wednesday, I can't park in the street. I mean, there's a lot of, I think, communities that do that. So
listen, the inconvenience is well worth it, because it finally cleans up the streets that are, some of them around here are bad. So
Okay, is there any other questions or comments about this? Mr. Johnson, do you feel like you have any, do you want me to do kind of a straw poll?
Like to get an idea if one of these three approaches is the one that everybody would like to use, or if they have any other ideas.
I like the simplicity of the garbage day.
1 day a week.
Same, I agree too.
So do I.
I like the garbage day, yep.
Yes.
There
Garbage
you go.
day.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. We will go ahead and move on to item 9G, purchase and payments of invoices.
Move to approve purchases and payment of invoices as presented.
Moved
Support.
by Commissioner Campbell, supported by Commissioner Goodenough. Anyone have any questions or comments on purchases and payments of invoices? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menster,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Excellent. Agenda item 10, consent agenda,
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
moved by Commissioner Campbell,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Goodenough. Roll call, please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menster,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, City Manager's report.
Yeah, actually, a couple of things happened in regards to COVID-19 since this was drafted. At the time, we were just reporting on number of cases, and that we can now get vaccinations for people as young as 12. The CDC relaxed mask requirements last week, and the state followed suit. I know that's causing some people to question whether we should keep the state of emergency in place. Our state of emergency right now expires July 4th. So it's in effect for 2 more regular city commission meetings. I would note that as it is right now, it applies to other city boards and commissions. And it's also the basis that the school district has used and the county commission has used for continuing with remote meetings. So if we rescind our state of emergency, those entities have to go back to meeting in person as well. I did talk to the school superintendent about it this morning. She indicated that if we choose to do that, she would ask that we at least wait to not make it effective before Wednesday. The county commission actually has 2 committee meetings this week, and they have a board meeting next week. So I would suggest if the commission does want to make a change, that it not go into effect until the beginning of June. Other items, the North Anthem Church volunteers have begun cleaning up some of our parks throughout the city. They've already done some work in MacArthur Park. In Shady Side, they're planning to do some work at Memorial Field this week. Advancing Macomb's working with the Clinton River Watershed Council on coordinating a park and river cleanup at Shady Side from 1 to 3 on June 4th. If they have other volunteers, they'd like to include other parks as well. Kirkham Park, formerly Wilson Park, has an old slide that was in disrepair and dangerous, not able to be safely repaired, and therefore it's been removed. As there are other slides within the play structure at this park, there is no immediate replacement of this slide is planned. Boys and Girls Club, right now we're seeking letters of support for bringing the Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern Michigan to Mount Clemens. Letters should be addressed as shown to the Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern Michigan Board of Directors, 26777 Halstead Road, Suite 100, Farmington Hills, Michigan. 48331-3560. I've sent out sample letters to all of the commissioners and told you you can use it as is, you can modify it as you wish, or you can ignore it and write your own. But I would ask that you do one of those three things. Sidewalk removal. There's a section of sidewalk on the riverbank between the Bathhouse Foundation and the Dickinson Bridge, which runs parallel to the boardwalk and dead ends at the bridge. There's really no reason anybody should be using this section of sidewalk because it dead ends and you can't go any further. It's scheduled for removal because it's failing and could become dangerous. Once the concrete is removed, the area will be backfilled with soil and seeded. We see no reason to replace the concrete as this section of sidewalk serves no purpose. Pedestrian traffic at the bathhouse moves onto the boardwalk and continues. The Play Fountain project. Advancing Macomb reports fundraising for the Play Fountain at Shadyside Park has been very successful. They will continue fundraising, but they're ready to move forward with the project, and we'll be working on an RFP. We'll be bringing back something to the commission that spells out the city's responsibilities and Advancing Macomb's responsibilities and the Anton Arts Center's responsibilities, probably for the next agenda. The fundraising has raised $250,000. $75,000 of that came from a Kaboom grant. $80,000 of that came from the public spaces, community places program, that same one that we used for the kayak launch, which took donations on patronicity, and the MEDC matched. And we've got $80,000 there. They have additional gifts of $35,000, and they've got a CFSEM, and I'm afraid I don't know what that stands for, grant through the Art Center of $60,000, and that is specifically for putting a mural on the surface of the concrete that will be the play area.
That's the Community Foundation of Southeastern Michigan.
Thank you. And I've listed future agendas. Obviously, the marijuana issue is going to require more work sessions, so we will not be presenting the ordinance for first reading on the 7th or second reading on the 21st. We do have a work session to continue the strategic plan discussion, which was started at the last meeting and not finished. And then hopefully we'll be able to update the strategic plan at that meeting. And that's all I've got for now. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the second opportunity for the public to participate. At this time, we'll take first names of those who would like to speak, and then we will give you your 2 minutes. We'll, of course, ask for your full name, your address, and then we'll give you your 2 minutes. Who would like to participate? Would anyone like to participate? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Hammond.
Thank you. Just want to remind everyone that there's 2 walk-in vaccination clinics in Mount Clemens. One is at Greater Morning Star and the other one's at North Broadway Church of Christ right in Mount Clemens. The days have been extended, so this Saturday, May 22nd, and then again on June 5th from 10 to 3. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier. Commissioner Fournier. Did we lose you?
Sorry. I'm off mute now.
Sorry.
I just wanted to shout out tonight to the Purpose Point organization. Davin Savaljo and Kurt Davis, who co-founded Purpose Point. They had a summit in Mount Clemens last week, 3 days, hosted. It was at the Emerald Theater. It involved several restaurants in downtown Mount Clemens. It showcased downtown Mount Clemens. The summit itself was absolutely exceptionally, it was amazing. I was so pleased at the quality of the speakers and the impact that it made. But that was an example of using our downtown for something like this, which I haven't seen and I can't remember. It was a great summit, and a shout out to them for hosting it here in Mount Clemens. It was an incredible summit, and I highly recommend next year if they do it again for anyone to attend. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Mentor.
I would like to recognize a couple of our high school seniors. Christian Lara Hernandez was voted a Channel 7 Brightest and Best for this year. That recognizes academic achievement. I'd like to recognize also Ariel Smith. She was elected to the Macomb County All Academic Team Class C and D. She was sponsored by the MISD, the Macomb Intermediate School District, the Macomb County Principals Association, and the Macomb Daily. There are good things happening in our schools. So congratulations to Christian and Ariel. I'd like to also give a shout out to Pat Linneberry, the senior producer for the Macomb Cable Network and the Bath City Beat. They are celebrating 20 years in June. And I want to say that, we should be thankful for the many opportunities that Patrick and Darren have provided for Mount Clemens High students in digital media and digital production and broadcasting. Thank you guys very much, and congratulations on hitting 20 years. It's been a wonderful program. And of course, we wouldn't be here tonight on Zoom without Darren and the Macomb Cable Network. I would like to, if you remember last commission meeting, I talked about a basketball game at the high school that was supposed to take place on May 14th. Well, that got canceled because the track team had a meet that night that somehow was not put on the school calendar. And we found out at the last minute from one of the coaches, Coach Maurice Wallace, that, when he was invited to play, that there was a meet. So we were forced to postpone it. There will now be an alumni and coaches game, basketball game at the high school on June 4th at 5 o'clock. And some of the track team is going to play also now because, some of the students, some of the kids are on both teams. So we've opened it up. There will be a congratulatory dinner afterwards for the players. And each player gets to bring a guest. But it would be really, really nice if our community stood up for our high school and came out to that game on June 4th at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Voorhees.
First of all, I want to apologize for the technology. I think I got my fingers on the wrong buttons, and therefore, muted myself more than I should. The marijuana issue, as you can see, is as I look at it, is about as clear as mud. So hopefully we can get through this with the help of Mr. Murray and Mr. Johnson. And with that, once a Clemite, always a Clemite.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodenough.
Yes, I would like to say that this was just given to me, so I wanted to share this with everyone. So Habitat for Humanity is giving out new refrigerators, and they will take the old one, and the refrigerators come from Home Depot. I have placed that information on my Facebook pages. It's called the Habitat for Humanity Refrigerator Replacement Program. And in addition, if anyone knows of anyone that needs food or clothing or resources, toiletry bags or whatever, please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to help them with any of that, or if they need any resources, I can do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, I just have one thing. I want to say that I'm in full agreement with regards to the street sweeping program and implementing something that is going to allow the street sweepers to do their job more effectively. I've been out when the street sweeper went through and cars are all over the place, and I don't even know how they were able to manage to do the excellent job that they are able to do. So I'm fully in favor of the city manager moving forward with a plan to get something in the works here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I cover everyone? I think so. Okay, I am really excited to see the social district approvals of participating restaurants. Those are starting to roll in. So we have now a Bebo and Cellar 104. So thank you to those two restaurants for getting their paperwork in and being the first two approvals of those. So we're excited to we're gonna begin to roll out the social district here real soon. I want to thank Eric Rick for volunteering to serve on the Planning Commission. If you are interested in serving the community by being on one of our boards or commissions, all of the details are located on our website under boards and commissions, and they have all the details of what each board does. It has the application right there, and all you have to do is fill it out, and you can either email it to us or bring it up to City Hall. And we are still looking for some volunteers for our boards and commissions. I want to thank New Anthem Church. They're doing a really great job. They have worked in the parking lot of behind Oakland University. I saw them working on the median over by North Avenue. They've been working in our parks. They've worked really hard for, I believe they called it Love My City Week. And so we thank them for their dedication to our community. Commissioners, please make sure to sign your letters of support for the Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern Michigan. This is really important. Also, if you know people in the community that would be willing to send a letter of support, if you could forward them the information that was given tonight with the address and a sample letter, we would really appreciate it. It's imperative that we get at least 25 letters. And I think that's all I have tonight. So we will go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
I move the city commission move into a closed session to discuss the city manager's evaluation.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Fournier, supported by Commissioner Menser. Roll call, please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menster,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow.
Yes.
Okay, so now at this time, the commission will be moved to a breakout room. The commission will return afterwards to finish the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Mentor, supported by Commissioner Hammond. Roll call, please.
Voorhees, Campbell.
There he is. Wait.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yeah. How you gonna do
He said you.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Campbell's here now.
Campbell, adjourn.
You're muted, Ron.
Would you like to
I'm
adjourn?
sorry. When I came back from the other room, I didn't unmute it. Yeah,
Or do you want to hang out some more?
Yeah.
I want to hang out.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good night, John Boy.